The goal of this podcast is to help you break in and thrive in advertising. Welcome to ADjunct, where we interview the top advertising lecturers and professors across the country to lend some knowledge to your ear, without spending thousands of dollars on a university credit. This week, you will learn from Shannon Bichard, Associate Professor at Texas Tech University and Chairperson for their Advertising and Brand Strategy Department. She is very passionate about teaching and mentoring students. At the undergraduate level, she often teaches advertising media planning, advertising campaigns, and the ad pitch course. In addition, she often teaches the pedagogy course, branding seminar, or integrated communication campaigns at the graduate level. Shannon especially enjoys working with students on independent projects that are relevant to their career goals that help them build their portfolios. In summary, Shannon is the boss. She has been doing this for over 20 years at Texas Tech, and you will learn how she helps her students break into advertising. You'll get direct advice that you can apply. And I've spoken to hundreds of professionals, and the consensus is that you need a few fantastic campaigns that stick out to break into advertising. So if you want to break into this business as an art director, copywriter, strategist, or even accountant sometimes, it is worth checking out Breaking and Entering's brand new Crowbar Awards. We are releasing a new creative brief every quarter for you to work on with a friend. Whether or not you enter is totally up to you, but we do have Greg Hahn judging this first show. Greg Hahn is co-founder of Mischief, one of the top ad agencies in the business right now. So it's an award and a tool. The best campaign will earn an actual blue crowbar, but we do not advise you to break into an advertising agency with it. But if you do, take some pictures because that's pretty funny. Recruiters and professionals will be watching the winners, so it can really help. See this podcast description for more details on how to enter or reach out to me directly. Happy to help. Now on with the show. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast Adjunct edition. And as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Mikey. All right, Shannon Bichard, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast Adjunct edition. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I'm excited to talk, get to know a little bit more about you and Texas Tech University, because you are an associate professor there and you run the ad department. Is that correct?
Yes, I do.
Amazing. Then you are the right person to talk to. I've been talking to a couple professors, lecturers, adjuncts, all different levels on the academic side in advertising to give advice for those that might not be able to afford a full-time education or wherever they're at in their world, in their lives, just to get some good learning. So yeah, I think let's kick it off the top here and get to know a little bit more about you. What does the term associate professor mean? Tell us about Texas Tech. Take us from the top.
Sure. So I have been actually at Texas Tech for about 20 years now. So I originally came from Orlando, Florida, moved out to West Texas to teach at Texas Tech. I am on the tenure track line, got tenure, and then really got invested in our curriculum. And so about 10 years ago, I took over as the department chair. Nice. And it has been just amazing. It is so much fun. I get to work. I feel so blessed. I get to work with the coolest, most creative students in the university. I would say, I think our faculty too are super creative and fun. And I mean, we're always coming up with innovative, wacky ideas, and I get to kind of steer the ship a little bit, but mainly I just hire amazing people. We bring in amazing students, and then I get out of the way and let them shine, let them do great stuff.
Sure. So, are you teaching classes now? Or are you doing more curriculum development? What does your role look like today?
Luckily, I still kind of get to do a little bit of everything. So I don't teach as much. I teach one class a semester. And so, but I have taught, almost everything in our curriculum. But now I teach one class, work on kind of keeping the department going in curriculum and recruitment and all of that stuff. But my favorite thing, I also am the advisor for our National Student Advertising Competition team.
Got it.
That is, that's my number one passion. I think it keeps me young. It keeps me kind of current with what's going on. And it helps me to make sure that our curriculum is staying current also.
Yeah, I think the AAF needs to sponsor me at this point. I mean, people know, some of my followers know my story. I was in it for 4 years. I did it with Steve Hall at University of Illinois. I'm sure you might know. But it's interesting because most of the people we get on, like the adjunct guests, of course, not just being adjunct level, are the NSAC advisors. So tell us about it. Like, we all know what it is, the competition that AAF goes on. You definitely get involved with it. It's one of the better experiences you can have to get the full campaign development. But how do you run your team? Is it a class? Because I know some schools, they make it a class for the full semester, full year, I think sometimes. Others, like Illinois, is very hands-off from, like, Professor Sandberg was like, just let the students run it and do their thing. So what's your view on that?
Well, so this will be my 21st year doing advising the team. And so I've certainly changed the structure over the course of the years. But I have learned that the best way, at least at Texas Tech, for us to do it, we do give students credit for a course in the spring semester. So I interview students in the fall semester. They have to do it once they're selected to be on the team. And we usually pick about 18 students, tends to be.
Oh, you cap it around. That's good.
It's just more than that. And there's too many cooks in the kitchen. Less than that, you can't get it all done.
Yeah, that's the right way. We had like 30 to 50 people, and we just never won. Like, I didn't do it, but I just know the team mainly because it was too many cooks. I'm not getting in that mess.
Yeah,
but that's right. That 18 sounds about right. 15, 18. My perfect ad club, if I were to be an advisor, would be like, I would do it like an ad varsity team, like where there would be 15 people and there'd be distinct roles and keep it really tight knit like that. So that makes a lot of sense.
Well, and that's too, I interview, and it's become, I think when you have the same advisor for as long as I've done it, and really recruit and kind of build a program, unfortunately, it's very competitive. So I get, sometimes.
Good. That's what you want as a team. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I get anywhere from 50 to 80 applicants every year. And so I'm weeding through them. I do this really fun group interview process where they come in and they get like challenges that are spontaneous and they have to come up with stuff. And so I look for people to fit the different roles that we need every year. And then I pick that team, put them together. Like right now they're on break, but we come back and we start putting all the magic pieces together. I mean, I think the hardest part for me for ad team, at first, it was so stressful trying to think of all the pieces that have to come together, and I would get really overwhelmed. And I would try to kind of insert myself and be like, okay, I'm your advisor. I've got to guide you here and guide you there. And at some point, a few years in, I realized you pick good people and then you sit back and you let them go through the process. And it's such a cool thing to watch because they do take longer than I would. I mean, they're trying to figure out, hey, what does this mean? What does that mean? And I just kind of sit back. I give them all the foundation and then, okay, guys, go for it. And then they figure it out. It takes them a little longer. It's not
how long does it take? I mean, for one campaign, and this is my only critique of this competition, and I don't really publicize this a lot, but how long is this taking people? Because I'm very nervous and worried for students out there because the competition with portfolio development is so high, where if you look at the students that are graduating from portfolio schools or a VCU brand center, that's what you're up against. And I get worried that students are spending too much time on one campaign that ends up being great. That's one campaign. And for some strategies, some agencies might think that's enough, but for those really great agencies, you need 4 or 5 of those campaigns. So what do you say to that? And how do you address that? How long does it take?
I do. I've talked to a lot of students that are alumni now that have done the ad team experience. And the thing about ad team, it's not real world. It is sort of I don't know what to describe, but it's like a amazing learning experience that takes very slowly through a process that you will learn and then be able to do it quicker. they don't know a lot about how to work in a team and
Sure.
these groups. So there's a lot of that in the first few months that you're just sort of learning, how do I interact with someone who's not like me? They do not know how to take critique. And so that's a kind of a fresh step that we start, nope, that's not good enough. I mean, they'll look over at me and I'm like, and they're like, what? So for a class, bring this, this, and this to class and you're done. Well, that's what they're used to. When they come to ad team, they bring check, check, check. And then I look at them and go, that's not good enough. Get out there and look at what's going on in the industry. You'll see that's not good enough. So they learn it through the experience to push themselves further, I think. And they hate me. I'm sure sometimes they hate me. They're like, oh my gosh, Bichard.
Cares. That's fun.
And I'm like, that's not good enough. I mean, that saying, good is the enemy of great. Like they just want to fulfill expectations until they realize, like, no, this is not about just fulfilling expectations. This is being fantastic. This is doing something you're passionate about. So I think the length of the process certainly isn't realistic for the real world.
Oh, no. Now it gets shorter and shorter now. I mean, it's weeks.
But learning how to push yourself and interact with people, I think is invaluable. And I think they learn it and they can do it much quicker when they get out there.
Okay. So now if I'm a student, if I'm learning this and if I'm understanding this correctly, then if I'm a professor, wouldn't I want them to go through that experience earlier, like their freshman or sophomore year, so then they can get that process down early and then they can then kickstart and create more campaigns faster? What do you think about that?
Absolutely. And that's one reason I don't have a requirement I have freshmen on my team. So I definitely, you don't even have to be an ad major to be on our team. So
that's better probably.
Yeah, it can be. I've had political science majors. I mean, of course, many of them end up being ad majors because they taste the fun, but a lot of them don't. I mean, I've got people from all over the campus, but the best way to do it for our team is to have freshmen, sophomore, and then a lot of juniors and seniors so that they're doing the experience multiple times. And not only are they figuring out how to deal with people and think and push themselves beyond what they think, they're also learning how to teach people under them and kind of mentor and pull that freshman up. So I think it's like a psychology experiment every year. I get to watch them and see them interact.
Well, I only bring it up because now we are launching our own. It's called the Crowbar Awards, and it's quarterly. And they're great briefs that are super creative that we're launching. And Greg Hahn, the founder of Mischief, is judging the first one. Awesome. So I will send you over those briefs. Yeah. By the time this is posted, probably be launched. But they're quick, and it shouldn't take a year to do it, or however long. Like it only should take 3 months, and that's a pretty good sweet spot for a spec work that can live in your portfolio. Not as probably there's no 60-page book. I don't know how many pages the books end up being for NSAC, so it's a little bit quicker, a little bit more creative, a little bit more open parameters. So I'll send that your way. Maybe those students could do it if they're interested.
Oh yeah, I think that's the key, is to get them doing as many experiential type activities that you can. And of course, I love ad team because that's my passion.
That's experience. Yeah, that's a great experience.
But that's what I love about Texas Tech's advertising program as well. We have tons of them. We have so many different experiences. Ad team is the one I'm most familiar with, but we have a director of what we call the think tank, who it's a collaborative creative space where he hires, I guess, or interviews students to do different projects every year.
Oh, nice.
They get real clients. They do the last couple of years, he's done this 1-day competition where students come together and they have to create basically a whole campaign, and then they go present to a client. And he's just always thinking of fun sort of
nice
ways to get client work, I think, is the main thing.
As somebody that's like interviewed hundreds of people, I think all these experiences are phenomenal because you're getting used to working and collaborating in a team. It's crucial. You're going to be working with all types of people in the industry, and there's a small world. You're probably going to be working with the people that are your student, are in your classroom at some point as well. So that's great. And the diversity as well. But also in like the work that you're creating, but also you have to take on the lens as a student that what I'm doing needs to go and needs to be at high enough caliber that it can be in a portfolio. If you want to be in a creative strategy or even account, everybody should have some sort of body of work that show. So don't do it halfway. The NSAC is great because you're pretty much guaranteed to get something that's portfolio worthy if you're working on it for credit with a strong team, like especially your class. That's good. That's one. But if you're doing these one-off things and you're looking at it, make it strong enough that you can debut and it's not wasting your time.
Absolutely. And I think students recently, and I don't know if it's challenges with what's going on in the world and what, we were stuck at home and then coming back and all of that. There is a tendency for a lot of students to just want to check off a box for their coursework. And I think it's been a real challenge for us. And I've talked a lot with my faculty about not just, encouraging students to make A's, but inspiring students to want to do great work. And that there's a difference. You can make straight A's and not have amazing work.
And recruiters don't care about straight A's.
I know.
That's great. I've never been asked my GPA. I've never been, I don't know. People don't really even look at my resume. How I got my last job was interviewing somebody on this podcast, and she just liked me. She called me up and she said, "You want to work?" And I'm like, "Yes." So
yeah,
it's the work you do and the name and the brand that you create for yourself. I believe. I don't know if you're lying. The classes, they ask you, did you graduate? Where'd you go? Okay, you have an understanding. I believe you. Let's see the work as well. So all of it kind of plays in there, but
absolutely.
Great. So run me through very high level, because this is, like I said before, I'm very interested in this. So if I'm a student at Texas Tech, what does that look like? Is there an ad major in the school of what? Is it an advertising school? Is it journalism? Is it business? Is it marketing? Are there tracks? Are there cohorts? Is there portfolio classes? Give me like the high level rundown.
Yes. Okay. So we are within the College of Media and Communication. And so I know that's different. Some places advertising is in marketing. Some places advertising is in the School of Business, but under its own umbrella. We are in our own college, which is Media and Communication. We are the Advertising and Brand Strategy Department. So there is also other departments that are communication related, and we play really well together. I think it's a great college atmosphere. Because
what are the other
see if I can remember.
tracks?
There's 5 different majors in our college.
Sure.
So there's public relations, advertising and brand strategy, communication studies, I think digital media, which is sort of a broad base, creative media, which is kind of your old electronic media, journalism kind of courses. So our curriculum, though, in our department is specifically focused on advertising and brand strategy. And we like to say, we kind of have our little tagline, it's the place where art and strategy collide. Because a lot of students coming in, and parents especially, want to know, how are you different from business? How are you different from the fine arts, where they have the design and art in the fine art area? And so that's where we kind of say, okay, we are that stepchild between the two. We are that awesome connection, that collision between the art and the strategy. So we give you some strategic courses. We give you some courses that are focused more on business and the marketing side. And we also give you a lot that are in the creative skills area. So I wouldn't say, we're not some of the programs that are so big that have tracks where you completely drill down into creative. We're not like that. We are still at that point. We're kind of big and small, which I think is great. But we have one program, one curriculum. Everybody takes a core of courses that gives you that art and the strategy. But then we also have a block of electives where you can kind of drill in and get what you want to make sure that if you're on the more creative side, that you're getting some web design, you're getting some, maybe creative writing type courses or advanced creative strategy, portfolio development. But if you're on more the account side, we let you use those electives to take maybe something that is more strategic, maybe account planning or consumer behavior type coursework.
Yep.
But then you sandwich all of that together. All the students take a capstone course in advertising campaigns. And
at the end?
Pieces. Yep. That's the last course that you take in the major.
Okay. Definitely. Very similar to Illinois' structure, and it seems to work. I love it. So picking those different electives out, you can kind of get like a tailored experience to what you like. So we'd like to see that. Awesome. So what do you tell your students? What has worked for you? I know it seems like a lot of your teaching um, today seems like you get a lot of experience in that and in the NSAC class. So other than the fundamentals of teaching them how to go through from research to execution and results, what are those other skills? Do you have days where you teach about like networking or breaking into advertising? What are some of those recurring themes lessons that you go back to?
Well, I think one of the things I tell students, and this is from day one when I'm just recruiting freshmen, you cannot no longer, maybe one day back in the day, you could have just gotten a degree in advertising. You cannot just get a degree. You have to get involved. And we can't force you.
Yep.
You have to get, I mean,
Not enough.
we have more student organizations in our college than I've ever seen anywhere. I think there's like 15 to 20 student organizations.
Good.
Some of those that have been put together by students that just wanted to have, a fashion design, club. And so they put it together. But there's also some that have been tried and true forever. Ad team is one of those, and it's a great experience. I love it, but we've got tons of others. So we've got, there's a group of students that run our social media. So they get active, real, experiential, experiences that they can put on their resume. We have the people that do the one-day competition. We have, there was an apathon for a while. Like there's always these little pockets popping up.
You have to get involved because it's Texas Tech is a great degree. You will get a job with that, just an advertising degree. Don't get me wrong. I think I tell people this all the time. You have a degree, you're going to get a job and you'll be fine, but you might not get an agency job. You might not get a good brand side job. It's not enough. And if you really want to break into a good agency, you're going to have to get involved. So I totally agree.
You've got to do stuff. Don't just make good grades. Yes, of course, I'm an educator. Like I believe that the coursework is really important. I think it lays just a basic foundation that you can draw from that is wonderful, especially in some of the areas that you don't want to go into. So if you're a diehard creative, you need to know a little bit about ad research. So you can talk the talk, know what media planning is. So I think all of that is valuable, but then that layer on the top of just putting it into action. And we have things you can get involved and do at Texas Tech from day one. So it's not just really, it's freshmen all the way through.
I love it. I always recommend too, I try all those clubs out early on. I was very lucky to know from before I even got to school that I wanted to be an assistant account executive by the time I graduated. So I had like a very clear path, and I'm very grateful for that. But I always tell people, try all the clubs your freshman year and then lock in one and go all in on one. Because I don't care if you're involved in you have 15 different things on your resume and none of them are substantial. So really kind of pick one out and then try to be the president of that. Or make your own. Or do something and push the boundaries and then go all in on one and stick with that, because then you'll get more out of it and dive in fully. What is your take on that? Do you agree, disagree?
Oh, absolutely. I think every student is a little bit different. So some may be able to go all in. Gosh, I've got a couple that go all in on 2 or 3 organizations.
Sure.
I think I would probably pick one.
Yeah, it's not realistic to be 3 presidents of different. I mean, that's not even necessary to be one, but like as long as you're putting out a lot of work, I agree with that.
And there's a lot of push now to understand other media industries. So I think I would even encourage students, like for us, advertising students, the natural organization is going to be either doing something with the think tank, the ad team, or our ad club. But I'm always like, okay, there's a gaming club. Like, are you interested in advert gaming? Maybe you join that. Like, try to play outside the lines a little bit too. But like you said, I don't think it's enough just to be on the roster. I think you have to get engaged and find what you're passionate about and do something.
I love it. Yeah. What else other than that? I mean, how do you compete with the portfolio development of those higher or the portfolio schools? Do you guys have portfolio campaigns classes? Do you tell them to work on the side? What is your view on that? Because it is challenging for students, and it's probably our most requested question from our listeners.
Absolutely. And I think, especially for creatives, so I think now everyone needs a portfolio, which is basically a website. And I think everyone can benefit from that. But creatives, especially if you graduate from a program like ours, and if you are going to be in art direction, like, or, copywriting, chances are you will probably need to go to portfolio school after you get our degree. So I have quite a few students I know, but, I particularly keep up with the ones who are in ad team that were able to push themselves on the side to really, really learn some of those fine, really detailed skills in art. And they're doing great. I mean, I have a girl who all over the place, people who are doing wonderfully, but then I have a great many also that have gone on to like Chicago Portfolio School was one of a lot of Texas Tech students have gone to.
Yep.
I think you can do it either way. Every student's different. I think from our program though, you can step right into the account side, media side.
Yeah. Same thing with Illinois. But that's like, don't you think, like, how can we address this and how can we fix this? Maybe is it the curriculum that we can work on, or is it just educating them day one? Like, hey, like we're going to give you have the opportunities in your classes to create portfolios. It's just letting them know that, because when I knew I wasn't going to be a creative, but some of my teammates, when we were in group projects, like they weren't trying very hard. They were just trying to get the A. Maybe like, is there motivating them early on in like a first level class, like the very beginning, like you need to have some sort of body of work by the time you graduate. This is the caliber it needs to be, whether it's in your classroom or within your ad team. Like this is what you're going up against. Is that the solution, or is it completely revamping the program where there are campaigns classes every single quarter? Or I don't know how things work, but what do you think?
Well, based on my discussions with some students who have gone on to portfolio school, what they do is so completely focused in on developing their portfolio.
Yeah, that's all it is. Yeah.
Like we don't have that luxury because we have to give them the foundational parts first.
Yeah.
I do think I would love to see our program, maybe in the next 10 years or so when we get larger. Right now we sit at about 400 to 450 students.
Oh, that's great. I don't know what the standard numbers are. I never asked that. I should probably ask people what the size of their programs are.
That's a good size, but not huge.
Okay.
UT has tracks. At some point, if we were able to funnel students, make them choose between creative and maybe account service type, directions, then we could drill down a little more. But I hesitate to do that because I really think it's valuable for all the students to get a taste of everything. I have been so surprised with how many students that are freshmen and sophomore don't know what area. Oh, I like advertising, or they think it's just coming up with ideas. It's fun and it's cool. And I'm like, no, let's talk about that. What do you like about it? Do you really understand what's going on behind the scenes? And I've taught, back in the day, and even now occasionally I'll teach the intro advertising course.
Yeah.
They are very clueless. Many of them.
I would love to. That's what I want to teach, is an intro and really inspire them and teach them the different roles. I think that's so cool.
It's fun for the ones that like the light bulb goes off, but there's so many of them that they're just not mature enough at that stage to like make a choice, or even like they're thinking, oh, graduation is so far away. I'm just having fun. I'm in college. I'm having a good time. And I'm like, can you think about it? But it's hard. I mean, it's definitely a challenge.
Yeah, definitely. Interesting. I asked that because it does worry me, and I don't want students to graduate and then realize, oh crap, I have to spend another 40 to 50 grand on a year or two of extra education, and to not get a master's as well. Most of these portfolio schools don't give you a master's. There's one out there, VCU. Maybe there's others. I'm not here to promote other schools. We're here to talk about you. That's a lot of money for something that you're not even getting a master's degree for the most part. And it's just like people don't even realize it until they start applying to jobs and they're saying you need a better portfolio. So it's been my mission just to let people know early on. I even worked at a portfolio school. So I want people to know you need to start early, and you need to start like day one, figure out what you want to do. That should be your first goal as a student is to figure out exactly what role you want to be or think you want to be, and then work backwards and then build that portfolio in your classes, in your ad team, and I would just find one friend that is an opposite of what I was. If I was a copywriter, find an art director, and then I would buddy up with them and spend nights together and stay up late and crack briefs and work on fun projects together. That's literally what I would do from day one. I think pair up and get one partner.
There's a percentage of students that do that.
That's great.
And that's, they're proactive. They're looking for ways to get involved. We try really hard at Tech to encourage them from day one to do that, because I think part of it is getting engaged with other like-minded students. Because immediately when you come in, I can tell you all day long, hey, you got to pay attention to this. You got to get moving on it right now. But when their buddy tells them, that makes a huge difference. When somebody like maybe that's a year ahead of them or 2 years ahead of them says, hey, let me tell you. So that's why I think the student organizations, getting people involved.
Yeah, so crucial. So
that they're kind of, mentoring each other, and they'll hopefully, and then having guests in the classroom as well. I mean, it cracks me up how I can say stuff all day long. And then you come in and say something in a guest lecture and they're like, oh, wow, Bichard, did you hear that? And I'm like, yes, I've been telling you that all semester.
Yeah, definitely. It's tough. I mean, I get it. They should definitely be listening, but it takes that extra person sometimes, a different perspective. They might get used to it. So amazing. How can people reach out to you if they have questions that are not your students, or they maybe want to transfer, or they maybe want to talk portfolio development, or just talk advertising with you and network with you? How can people reach out to you?
Oh, easy. I mean, I'm pretty prominent on our website. So if you Google, TTU College of Media and Communication, you're going to get all of our majors. But if you go into advertising, then I'm there, pretty easy to find. My email and stuff is all on the website. So I'm happy to chat with people. I get a lot of students that reach out from our website, and kind of, there's some information there, but if they have additional questions or want to pick my brain, I'm happy to chat.
Amazing. I love it. Well, I don't have any more questions. I think we covered a lot of great stuff. We talked about the program, talked about you and your advice. Is there anything else you want to get out that you thought about today, or are we all good?
The only other thing I would suggest, I think we talked a lot about getting involved and like doing work. The other thing I would say is pay attention. You're on social media. I know all the kids are on social media. Pay attention to what big brands are doing. Pay attention to the brands you love. Follow them on social. See what they're doing. How are they promoting? Musicians are really big into that now. Like, what are they doing? How are they talking how are they engaging with their consumer? And I think that can be helpful as well. But really just get out there and do it.
Heck yeah. I put on post notifications for my favorite agencies, my favorite journalists, and my favorite organizations. I do that for LinkedIn and I do that for Instagram. So every time they post, I get a little ping. I'm the first to know. Twitter as well, for however long that will be a thing. So great. I love that advice. Thank you so much, Shannon. This has been amazing. I hope people reach out, and I hope you and the rest of Texas Tech are nothing but the best. I wish you guys all well.
Thank you so much. It's been fun.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this entire episode of the Breaking and Entering Advertising podcast. If you like what you heard, it would mean a lot to us and help us grow and get better guests and better break-ins if you can go to Apple Podcasts and leave us 5 stars and a small review if you have the time. Be sure to connect with our guests if you like what they said by going to our Instagram at Breaking and Entering Pod. That's all one word, Breaking and Entering Pod on Instagram. We have links to their portfolios and their LinkedIn, and they want to connect, so do that. And thank yous. Thank you to Mikey Malarkey, our audio engineer, and Buchan Zhang, our creative director. Can't do it without you two, and a team from the University of Illinois. It's a student team from the agency called AdBuzz. They're a PR agency, and it's been a pleasure working with them. Thank you all so much, and we will see you next week with another amazing guest.